it's best that you just take a shot at what you're doing. And he pointed outside his office. He said, see those guys out there? This is what they're gonna do. He said, I know this is not what you're gonna do, but if you're gonna take a shot, now go out there and just do whatever you need to do. So he wasn't firing me, but he was giving me some really good advice.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Wise Investments Real Estate Investing channel. We want to make sure you guys are tapped into everything we're doing. We're doing multiple shows every week, so make sure you guys are subscribing, turn on the bell notification so you get notified anytime we're dropping a new video. But this one, I am so honored, so blessed to have my co-host with me, Mike Oakes, my business partner. I've got Bakari as a special honorary co-host today. Bakari Banks, he's the general manager at Veterans Choice, one of the most amazing pieces of our business. And last but not least, our special guest for today, our brother, Kyle Finley. So Kyle, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And I just wanted to kind of give you an option, or I guess a little piece about yourself. If you want to introduce yourself, let the people know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the veterans out there, thank you for your service, and I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been it was a unique experience meeting the entire group and actually having the relationship evolve to where it is now, where we talk on a regular basis and pass deals back and forth. So that's always great to build a stronger network, which is what I like about this podcast. Secondly, well, a little bit about myself. My background is in short-term rentals, vacation rentals, and we have in Trinidad and Tobago four, and one in Jamaica, a few in Miami, and also a few in Orlando, which is currently under renovation. A multi-family compound. I'm sorry, a single-family compound with three facilities on it. So that's our portfolio and what we're working on at the moment, and we're evolving the company into an assisted living a roll-up at the moment. So my background has always been in sales in general, doing deals, signing contracts, and figuring out ways to generate cash flow, right? But at heart, we're all in the sales business, to say, right? And we're all in the people business, let's put it that way. But my background comes from the nightclub and nightlife in Miami and transitioned that into vacation homes for the past 12, 13 years approximately. And from there, now we're evolving into assisted living roll-up. So that's a quick snapshot.
I love it. Awesome. Well, obviously, we have an exceptional guest today, Kyle Finley, founder of Finley Vacation Homes. As Kyle was, talking on, he has decades of experience, in the vacation rental market. He's now moving into the assisted living facilities space. So, Kyle, thanks for joining us. I want to jump right into it. Kari, I know you got the first question, so the floor is yours.
All right. So all the business lingo and everything, that's all cool. I'm a man of the people. So I wanted to know Kyle Finley, like from little Kyle all the way up to the big Kyle you are right now.
Okay.
I want them to know you for the most part.
Well, I'll try my best not to bore you guys too much, but I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised on a little island in a little village and a little island called Maracas Valley. Moved to New York, I would say 10, 11 approximately. Don't quote me on that. And from there, my family moved us to Miami, Florida. Miami was a great experience. Lived a typical Miami life when it comes to growing up. Fun party, beaches, girls, you name it. I was super heavy into that lifestyle. Threw a lot of parties. I was a guy that threw the cool events throughout my high school period. Let's put it that way. I think I threw a couple great events when I was in middle school too. It just been my thing. Just bring a bunch of chicks together, friends together, and have a good old time. And from there, I got out and went to Full Sail University in Orlando for college. So music engineering, producing, things of that nature. Yeah, moved back to Miami in 2008 from Orlando, Florida. That was a big time because 2008 the market was in a unique space which I was completely unaware of at that time. Right, I was young, just having fun. So as I got into the workplace, I was like, okay, I didn't know there's this recession thing going on, and I was doing an outside sales job for AT&T. I believe it's called Uverse, selling fiber optics, knocking door to door. And that was an experience, an eye-opening experience. So, basically you eat what you kill. That was a big thing. But I learned a lot there, knocking doors, speaking to strangers, sweating in the sun, wearing a shirt, while simultaneously, doing pursuing music and working in music studios, things of that nature. So that was cool. That was fun. And from there, I transitioned into selling home security for ADT and Brinks Home Security at first before ADT purchased Brinks. That was an acquisition. But I learned a lot knocking doors. I learned a lot about the numbers game. How many doors you knock equals to how many contracts you could get in hand, right? So the more numbers you put up, you practice your pitch, and you get deals done. So that was my big thing. Uverse AT&T was not a good experience as far as getting paid. And one day I decided I'm going to quit this job. I'm done. I was leading sales for a few months meaning 2.5 going on 3 months. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to quit after today. And from there, I was knocking doors on the street. Let's think of it like 10 houses on either side of the street. I went up one up the other. I got like halfway done. I'm like, man, I'm done. I'm going home. I was like, you know what? Let me just finish this block, and then I'll leave. So finish the last 5 doors. No kidding. I always tell this story. The last door I knocked, this guy answered, named Ray Garcia, and I did the pitch, the whole thing, fiber optics coming to your area, the whole thing. And he said, yeah, come on in. I was like, holy shit, okay, come on in. He's like, so tell me about the service. I went over the entire service, the pitch, try to sell him on a contract. And he goes, tell you what, kid, I'm not going to buy anything. But you want to make, he's like, how much money are you making right now? I was like, I'm leading sales and I haven't got a paycheck. They keep telling me my paycheck's coming, but I haven't received it, so I'm trying to figure something out. He's like, you want to make some real money? Right? And usually that could go either way, right? I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I'm the sales manager at Brinks Home Security. How would you be interested in a job? And I was like, yeah. And a week later, I was in Texas training for Brinks Home Security. So that changed my life completely at that point. So I went from quitting one day to now I'm in this whole new adventure out in Texas training for 2 weeks. Came back, and like I said, he was the sales manager, which is great. And went in for the interview, flew out to Texas, came back, and started working for Brinks. And what's crazy about that story is that something similar happened while I was working at Brinks. All right. Um, Paychecks were great, money was great, but it's not exactly the most fun job, right? You're in a hot sun chasing contracts all day long, right? And the quota is 12 deals a month, right? You have to close at least 12 contracts a month. I was averaging around 15, so a little bit above average, but it was a great living. But I was bored. From there, I was knocking doors in downtown Miami, and I was still throwing parties on the weekend at certain nightclubs. So I'll rent out a nightclub for the night, for example, or I'll do a deal with the nightclub owner, and I'll say, "Look, we'll split the bar, we keep the door, and we throw the party here. We'll bring our people. You can bring your people also, but we'll keep the door. We'll take 10, 15% of the bar, and we'll promote it and bring people in." What was her name? Her name was Grace in Coconut Grove. Anyway, closed this deal with this nightclub. We're throwing weekly parties, but it was so far off the beaten path at the time where all the fun was happening. The Coconut Grove was like on a downtrend at that moment, and downtown Miami was like getting better and better. And I was knocking doors in downtown Miami searching for contracts one day, and I knocked on the door, and the door swung open in this big building. And as it swung open, I saw 5 guys sitting at a table, and the entire place was under renovation. This was actually Meyer Lansky's bank back in the Prohibition era. So I had this big giant vault in the back of it. I stepped inside. I see these guys talking. Hey, you guys interested in security for this place? He's like, hey, don't you see we're having a meeting? Give us a quote. Walk around. Like these guys were very like fast. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll give them a quote. I want to say the quote was around 14, 15K for the entire place. I didn't think I was going to get the contract, but anyway, I gave it to him, talked to him, and I told him, hey, you guys are doing a nightclub? He's like, yeah, we're doing a club. We haven't named it yet. We're in renovation. I was like, hey, why don't you guys come to one of our parties? We got one going on this Saturday in Coconut Grove. Didn't think they were going to come. But these old guys showed up. When I say old, in the late 50s, 60s, one of them in their 70s. These are investors, right? The nightclub's at the bottom of this office building that's like 10 floors, but they own the entire building. So they're just trying to figure things out. But anyway, all of them showed up to the party, and we had it sold out that night, lying around the corner. And from there, I get a call the following week, like, hey, you want to help us with this club? I'm like, okay, I'm more than happy to help you with the club. And then it came, the fast forward the story. I don't want to drag it out too much, but they're like, basically, help us with the club. We'll give you piece of the nights. And also, but we want a discount on the security system. I gave them the security system for free. It's like, you have that. And like, okay. Let's see what I could do as far as the nightlies go. So I worked out a deal with them, taking over Fridays and Saturday nights. Built a promotion crew, built out so much, from the go-go dancers to the DJs. We just got heavy into it. And more I got into that, the less I was dealing with home security and business security, and I was just hitting my minimum a month. But I was so focused on the nightlife business because that tied in directly into like my music and producing career and things I was working on at the time. But the fast forward, the story was a success, and then I renegotiated the deal, got a piece ownership of the entire situations, which was great. Became the coolest nightclub for a very long time in downtown. It's called the Bank at the time. That's because of this big safe in the middle, set back. Like they had to put the safe in first before they built the building around it, right? That's how big the safe was. You could walk into it and fit 20, 30 people. So I had a great idea. I put a stripper pole right in the middle, boom, and that was a VIP lounge. It was great, right? I think
Dang.
that was one of my best ideas ever, and it worked out wonderful, right? But yeah, so that was a good time. Sold the club, I want to say a year and a half, maybe 2 years after it started, because it was at its peak. And some guy that made a lot of money on websites and on the internet. I don't know exactly what he did, but he came, purchased it, and took it over. They got a little paycheck from there, which was great. It was my biggest lump sum I've ever seen at that point. But fast forward the story, I had this VIP bottle client that he'll always call me, hey, I'm coming tonight, coming tonight. I need some girls at the table, etc. I'll just put it all together, right? So they sit at this table, he pays for the bottles, he has a great time. But this guy always had so much time and cash on his hands. So I don't know what this guy does. Like, what does he do for a living to have so much cash and so much time on his hands? And so after we sold the club, I had time, a little bit of time in my hands trying to figure out what's next. At that point, I was already done with home security. I was like, I'm done doing that. I'm just gonna figure this part out. But my boss at ADT slash Brinks at the time, I had a great month. I think I had 18 deals, and he said to me, he's like, you should take this check and you should leave, because at this point, this is not for you. You have so much other things going on, and now is the time, since you received this big paycheck. It's best that you just take a shot at what you're doing. And he pointed outside his office. He said, "See those guys out there? This is what they're gonna do." He said, "I know this is not what you're gonna do, but if you're gonna take a shot, now go out there and just do whatever you need to do." So he wasn't firing me, but he was giving me some really good advice, which was great, because again, my coworkers will come to our clubs, come to the club at night, and they'll have a good old time. They'll see what we're doing. So he had a different perception of me. But anyway, to fast forward the story, went great. I decided to leave that day. And actually, in my office in Miami, I have that pay stub up there, right? I want to say it was like 18K in commissions or something like that. But it was the biggest paycheck I've ever seen at that point, like an actual monthly commission check. That was great. Usually averages around 8, 9 grand, but this one was like fucking great. So I was like, yeah, just carry me through a few months. The club just is going great. Months after it's sold, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I reached out to this bottle client. I was like, look, I need to find something to do. What do you do? And it turns out he was a vacation rental guy. He owned a bunch of vacation rentals in the W Hotel.